Hey guys, and here, welcome back to the channel, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you 8 spicy decks that might not be the most meta decks, but these are decks that I've seen a few times, or that I built a deck around, or these are decks that I'm actually contemplating on building and making a video around. So without further ado, let's jump into the first spicy deck list that I think could be really good, and it is a Jolteon variant, which is kind of like an evolution from the video that I previously uploaded and took to a tournament that I top cut with Jolteon. The idea for this deck is you only run lightning energy, and your Leafeon EX can actually generate its own energy, so you don't have to worry about that. And the reason this is good is because you can't choose if you're going first or second. However, if you're going first, oftentimes your opponent's Pokemon are only going to have a max HP of 60. Think Litten, think Charmander, you know, those types of decks. Well, if you're lucky and don't get red carded and Marsed, and you have a Jolteon in your hand, you can evolve into your Jolteon, the brand new one, for 1 energy, deal up to 60 damage upon the turn that you evolve into this Jolteon, which is pretty awesome. We also have 2 EV bags to take that damage up to potentially, you know, 70, 80, maybe even 90 with the added Giovanni in this deck. But if that's not your cup of tea, honestly, we have a Sylveon that helps us draw our cards, again, the Leafeon that generates, and then from then on, you are just packing energy onto your Pikachu EX to then bring it in and close out games with its 150 attack Thunderbolt. For disruption, we have Red Card as well as Sabrina and our own means of drawing those cards we're looking for with a communication. But that's only the first deck in today's video. In fact, a lot of these decks are going to include the Sylveon EX. And a lot of people keep asking me, why Sylveon EX over things like Shiinotic? Well, let me ask you a question here real quick. If you could only choose one, would you choose a Professor Research or a Shiinotic? Exactly, you choose a Professor Research, and that's essentially what Sylveon EX is. It is your 3rd Professor Research, so why wouldn't you have that in your deck? Moving on to the next deck list that I wanted to share with you guys, and this one is super spicy because one, it's a deck list that I built. I thought it was going to be amazing. I took it to a tournament, I bricked horribly, and I dropped out of the first round. A lot of you guys have been asking me what happened with that tournament. It did not go as well. However, that's not to say this deck isn't great. I had a really good time with this deck in ranked ladder. A lot of people also had a really good time. A lot of people didn't have a really good time, but I do want to share this one player who showed me their top listing with this deck. This is actually their variation. They took my Slurpuff Rampardos deck build and then iterated onto it to become one of the top 1,000 players in the game. Yeah, it's right there. It's pretty awesome. Shout out to you. Thank you for sending me that message. And thank you for enhancing these deck lists. You know, that's the whole point of these videos. I'll upload a deck list and I want you guys to take them and then try to enhance and further level them up. And do like this one player did and potentially maybe even get top 1,000 with a very silly deck list. Anyway, so what they decided to add to it was a Sylveon EX to help you draw your cards. And they removed some other cards. I believe they removed Iono and a few other cards to include Mars, a Lily, and it just brought about a little bit more sustain. So that way your Slurpuff comes in and just deals damage on curve up to 90. It's like Sylveon, but you don't need the supporter cards, which is why I'm kind of a fan of this. Plus it survives a Rampardos attack with a cape, as well as our own Rampardos coming in and dealing up to 130 damage, which is pretty solid. Definitely a deck list that I think I might try to play this upcoming week on ranked and maybe even into a tournament. So don't forget to subscribe and tune in for that so you don't miss out. Moving on to yet another Sylveon EX variant. However, this is the first deck list in this video that Sylveon actually can do something other than draw for you. This one can attack because we're running Psychic Energy in this deck. The idea is Sylveon EX draws your entire deck for you. You get your Togekiss online, you start overdrive smashing. The first time you do that, it's 60 damage. The following times you do that, it's 120 damage that can go all the way up to 170 if you use something like Cynthia. A Togekiss could potentially survive a Steam Zard attack with a cape, and then if you overdrive smash with the Cynthia, you're dealing 110 damage. They can Lily, but they're not gonna Lily enough to survive the following turn, and then you could just clear them out that way. All in all, a pretty spicy and super aggressive Psychic build that I think could be very, very good, especially if you have all these cards and are looking for something unique to play on the ranked ladder. Next up is Umbreon. Similar to the first deck list in the video, we are running only Darkness Energy. However, the Leafeon ramps itself and the Darkrai can sit in the back to take all the other energy and then deal extra 20 chip damage, because that's just what Darkrai does. It's so good. Here's a deck list that I actually haven't played around yet. This will be either Monday or Tuesday of this week. I'll go live and I'll test a variation of this deck list out and see how it does. I really want to build around Umbreon, but I've seen this on the ranked ladder, and a lot of people on my Discord have been suggesting this type of deck list. And the reason I think it has a lot of benefit and could actually be very good is because of the Umbreon control aspect, Dark Binding attack, where the opposing basic Pokemon just can't attack. If you're going into something like Buzzwole, Celesteela, yeah, they can swap out, but a lot of people aren't really playing that as much. Throw in the cast of supporter cards in this deck, and it's really solid in my opinion. Speaking of control, this next one is super toxic. So Espeon has a really cool ability that says, attack that says for 1 energy, it deals 20 times the number of opposing energy on your opponent's side of the board. So if they have like 3 on their active, but then like 7 on their back, they're dealing 8 times 2. That's 160 damage, right? I think math, terrible. But that's not the point. The point is Stoutland's ability, yes, ability, not attack, says your opponent's active Pokemon needs an extra energy to deal an attack, which synergizes so well with Espeon because then it just gets a free extra 20 damage on the board. This, on top of the giant cape, allows our Stoutland to survive a lot of attacks, including a Steam Zard, right? And allows us to chip damage, so that way our Espeon can come in and knock out things. You could add a non-EX Sylveon to also synergize with this, have all these evolved Pokemon on the bench, and then evolve into that Sylveon to deal damage. But I find the Espeon is just a better closer after the Stoutland pops off their first few attacks and forces your opponent's active Pokemon to add more energy. For disruption, we have Mars, and for sustain, we have Lily and Nurse Joy, not Pokemon Center Lady. That's such a weird name. Oh wait, you were missing the Sylveon EX decks? Not to worry, here's another spicy one. And this is Arceus EX with Crobat and Sylveon EX. And the idea is super simple. Think the Greninja Giratina Sylveon EX deck. This is that, but with better damage output, I guess, because this Crobat deals up to 30 damage with the ability that requires your Arceus to be on the board, and your Sylveon EX pretty much guarantees that you're going to draw your entire deck by like turn 3 or turn 4, as long as you find all the cards early on. So you have a single Arceus on the board and 2 Crobats fully evolved. You're dealing a passive 60 damage every single turn before your Arceus even goes online, which is really strong. Honestly, I think if your opponent sees 2 Crobats on the board, they might just concede at that point. But let's say you brick and you start with Arceus. Well, not to worry, take a bit of damage and you could Ilima, bounce them back to your hand, and keep the strategy going. Next on the spicy deck list is my boy Louis X-Ray the 10th right here, Luxray, for those of you that don't know what I'm talking about. And we're running it with the new Galvantula. Now, I haven't played this yet, and this is again going to be one of the deck lists that I'll be playing this week, so don't forget to subscribe and tune into that so you don't miss out. But this just synergizes so well. The Oricorio is here to shut down any EXs, but on top of that, we have the Galvantula that can guarantee paralysis, which is wild, but discards all of your energy. Not to worry, discard all your energy, paralyze your opponent's opposing Pokemon. That's 70 damage, right? Next turn, retreat into your Luxray, attach the energy from the energy zone, and then Volkner, and you're knocking out things like a Steam Zard. And they can't even attack you. Like they can stoke, get all their energy, you Galvantula them, and unless they have something like a Nurse Joy, they can't do anything. They can heal, but that's not even going to be enough, to be honest. And then your Luxray comes in and just destroys them, or even your Oricorio at that point, as long as it already has energy on. With that being said, I am very excited to test out this deck list. A lot of you guys also really wanted me to test out a similar variation of this deck list. So again, that's going to be happening this week. So let's move on to the final deck in today's video. Another one that I still need to test out, but I think could be very, very good. And it's running the same concept as many other decks that are very successful. And we're running 2 Sylveon EXs to help you draw all your cards. So the idea that this is ripping off of is the Incineroar, but also the Steam Zard, where you're using Sylveon to draw your cards. Now, the reason I think this is good is because, well, both those other 2 Pokemon that I listed, they're weak to water. So if you can get Primarina on the board with at least 2 energy, you're dealing a guaranteed 100 due to weakness. Even if they heal the following turn, you're dealing 120, potentially up to 150 with our House supporter. So I don't think Steam Swords or even Incineroars are going to be surviving much after that. On top of that, we have a lot of heal with our Sparking Aria, but also a Vaporeon in here in case your opponent wants to run something like an Oricorio. You get your Vaporeon online, and you just start dishing damage, removing your opponent's energy, giving you a little bit more of a control aspect as well as healing in this type of deck. But that's not all. Disruption, we have Red Card and Sabrina. But there you guys have it. Those are my top 8 spicy decks of the week. If you like this might become a new series where I just share a ton of spicy decks every single week. So let me know in the comments what you think. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and I'll see you guys the rest of the week, I guess, when I upload videos and go live. Later.